students, but we barely have this for the whole country in general, where graduate students get to know what other people are doing, or or in the general sphere of if you want to do a certain kind of research, are there some Ghanaians doing this kind of research that you can benefit from their expertise? Or can we connect to other Ghanaians? It could be local, it could be abroad, wherever they are. Can we connect and learn or share ideas and stuff like that? And this is what made me think of the graduate student, this mathematical fair, where graduate students can share their ideas in a formal or informal way, and then can network as well, and can foster new relationships that they can use it to do publications in the future. And I feel this is a good way to get to connect with other people. Also, for those abroad who are doing PhDs and graduate and masters, they'll get to see that they are not the only ones going through certain challenges and certain difficulties. So once you have a community, once you have other people telling you that they are also going through similar problems, it encourages you to work harder and to try to push towards your aim and your goal. And for me, this is the main reason why I felt we should have a graduate fair where we can share ideas. Sometimes it can be an uncooked idea, just something that has come to your mind that you are working on, you need help, you can share it and ask, hey, I'm looking for someone who has experience in this area, and maybe we can do it together and publish the work together. And kind of this is a way to foster development and foster research as well in our space. And I'll be very happy that in the future, we have a lot of research articles coming out from Ghanaians and all over the world connecting to publish leading articles and stuff. And for me, this is where it starts from. And that is why I feel it's important we foster this connection and to build it on. So thank you very much for participating. And I'm very happy that when I spoke to Sylvia, Thomas, Theophilus, Eric, they all decided to jump on and really make sure that this works well. And I'm very happy that it is working. And this is the first one of such. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Moore, for the address, and also thank you for being the brain behind all of this. We believe this would lead to greater things in the future. So thank you very much. So we'll quickly go ahead and then just begin with the whole program. So our first talk is by, again, Dr. Stephen Moore. He'll be talking about optimal control for fractional order dynamics of tumor growth. So Dr. Moore, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and then share your screen. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So let me share my screen. I decided to edit it slightly. Okay. Please, can you see my screen?
Yes, please, we can.
I need to do it again. Okay, so now I can see it. Okay. So I decided to edit my topic slightly, not to talk about the optimal control problem, but to talk about a fractional problem itself. And then in the end, you see what is happening in the optimal control. I'm giving this talk, Stephen Moore from the Department of Mathematics. I'm giving this talk particularly in the memory of two students, two graduate students of mine. One is Godfred Santuma. He's a Ghanaian. He is a Ghanaian, and then the other is Linda Oleka, who is a Nigerian. So Godfred started his master's thesis with me, and he did his master thesis. He finished his master thesis, but unfortunately, a week before his final thesis defense, he passed away. So, as a graduate student, I feel these are after all the hard work. Unfortunately, he passed away and couldn't benefit from the work that he did. And then the other one that I want to also do is for Lenda. Lenda Oleka. It was a Nigerian. She got scholarship from the African Union to come and do a PhD with me here in UCC. Unfortunately, when she came, she got severely sick, and within 8 months after he arrived in Ghana, he passed away and for his PhD. So these two students kind of really encapsulate some of the difficulties of graduate studies as well. That you can work hard and anything can happen in the end. So I really do give the stock in their memory. And to all other graduate students who couldn't see to the end of their work, got sick in any way, this talk also goes out to them as well. The title of my talk is Caputo Fractional Order, SCIRP model for COVID-19 pandemic. I'm sure we all know the deterministic models, a system of non-autonomous ODEs we use to describe models. We used to describe problems as such. But this particular one talks about Caputo fractional derivatives, which is different from which has a different definition and kind of a generalized definition for fractional derivatives that are between 0 and 1 as well. So you can have half derivatives, quarter derivatives, two-thirds derivatives, and so on. And they have different properties that I'll share why the properties make them unique and different. And then we'll use it to model ODEs and some mathematical problems, and then show some simulations in the end. Okay, so this is a paper that we published together with some colleagues of mine, Said, who is in Botswana, and then Adeumi, Libelo, they are in South Africa, Fabulun also in South Africa, Autry is here in Ghana, and then myself as well, which was published in 2022, last year. So why fractional order differential equations? So fractional order differential equations are related to systems with memory dynamics. So the idea of the fractional derivative differential equations are they have this thing we call about the memory effects about them. And they have a lot of applications in control theory, signal and image processing, finance, and many other types of applications that usually people know for differential equations. They try to now see how the difference or what extra effects these fractional order derivatives or differential equations give to these models. And as I said, these are generalized and non-integer order differential equations. So you have differential equations of order half or what, 1/4 or 2/3 and stuff like that. So this is and for most cases or most real life events, the history is important. The history of how the disease grows or the history of how the disease spreads is very important because it gives us idea of what is happening and how to control or curb these effects. And there are many types of fractional order differential equations, honestly. So you move from, the idea is you move now from calculus. So calculus is usually an integer based. So first derivative, second derivative, third derivative, fourth derivative. Now we move from calculus in that sense to fractional calculus where we want to find half derivatives, quarter derivatives, and so on, and see the same apply to the integrations as well. So we will define derivatives in fractional sense, and there are many types of fractional derivatives. There's the Riemann-Liouville, there's the Caputo, there's a Caputo-Fabrizio, there's a Tangana-Baleano, and so many of them. And one of the main properties is all these derivatives are non-local. So if we take a definition of a Riemann-Liouville integral, we say that if we take a functional which is L1, of order V, we define a Riemann-Liouville as this equation here in red, where we have a gamma, the Euler gamma function. We have the interval t between a time t which is between 0 and b, and we have this order. The order here is v, which is a positive integer as well, or a positive real number, sorry. So for Riemann-Liouville fractional differentials, there is a problem. The problem is if you take just a simple equation, maybe like y is equal to x, and you want to apply Riemann-Liouville ideas to find the derivatives or the integral, you realize that you always have a problem with initial conditions that are not physically defined, or cannot be generally measured. So you have a problem with usually the initial conditions, the definition of the initial conditions. And so one of the solutions is to use Caputo derivatives. So it means that if I give you a simple equation as maybe y is equal to x or y is equal to c, a constant, we expect that the derivative should give, the derivative of a constant should give you 0. And then the derivative of x should give you 1. So we expect that if we take anything in between, it should give us something that is also going to be closer to 0. And so this is what the Riemann-Liouville differential equations misses on. And we use the Caputo derivative to overcome this difficulty. What then is the Caputo, what is really the Caputo derivative? What is it? So we say if you take a function which is continuously differentiable between a time interval 0 to b, then the Caputo fractional derivative of order v, right, of a function is defined in this sense. So sorry, this here is not an equal to this here is not an equal to, it should not be there. So sorry. This is a definition of a Caputo fractional order derivative, where you have the gamma function, you have your function now g to the power n of tau d tau, and we have n to be a floor function plus 1, and which is the, and then we can have the integral. So we have the derivative. Then in this lemma here, we now give the integral of the derivative of a Caputo derivative. And this we say is given by this gt minus a sum 0 to n minus 1, this term here. And then we say that if this order v is between 0 and 1 inclusive, then the integral of the derivative of a function will give us the difference of the function and the function as evaluated at 0. So what does this present to us? So now I go now to describe a model problem that I want to present. So this is a very simple COVID-19 model that we thought of 2021 that we worked on, that you have a susceptible population, an exposed population, symptomatic population, then asymptomatic population, and a recovered population. But we also do consider the pathogens, that is a virus in the environment. And this is what we call the P, right? So you have a situation where you have susceptible, exposed, infected people and recovered people, but all the infected people are introducing the pathogen, the virus, again into the environment, right? So we try to look at how we can model this aspect as well. So for a fractional order model, we consider the system that I've described here. We consider this model here, where we have the susceptible, the exposed, the asymptomatic, the symptomatic, the recovered, and the pathogen as well. And we subject this to an initial condition where all the initial conditions are greater or equal to 0. And then this derivative here, d of t to the power alpha, is what we call the Caputo fractional derivative order. The order is given by alpha, and this alpha is between 0 and 1. So as in all cases, if you have an ODE, you want to do some qualitative analysis of the ODE. You want to check if you have this kind of models, you want to check some positivity, boundedness, you want to check reproduction number, you want to do stability analysis, all of that. So all of that, you can do the same thing in the same for these fractional differential equations, just that they require different techniques, not the same as what we know for the ordinary differential equations. So if we take a vector x, which consists of the different states, then we can rewrite our system of equations here in kind of a Cauchy form. So we can rewrite this system in terms of this Cauchy form here, which I call 2, which is the derivative of t, the fractional derivative of t of x of t equal to k t x of t, where this kTx of t is equal to phi I, and then phi I is what we have for phi 1, phi 2, phi 3, up to phi 6, right? And we take our time between 0 and b, and our alpha also between 0 and 1. So if you have such an equation like equation 2, you can rewrite this derivative, this differential equation here in an integral form. The integral representation is given by this equation here. This is equation 3. This is what gives us the integral representation of this dynamical system here. So you have this integral representation now, which you can see is the direct, is exactly what we defined here, right? It's exactly what we defined here when we wrote the definition of the Caputo derivative. So we can have this integral representation for our equation. So usually if you have an ODE, you can write an integral representation that gives you the solution directly. Here, when we write this integral representation, we realize that we have to find a way to solve this equation. And then to go and to try to solve this equation, we need some other techniques. And one of them is we need to define a Banach space. A Banach space with a norm. This norm is a supranorm norm of the Banach space on this vector. And then we also define an operator. So this operator now we define here is exactly with this integral representation, right? So the operator acts on this integral representation to give us what we have on the right side. This is the equation 3. And then we know that if you have such an operator, you can check the properties of this operator that it should be continuous. So we state that, okay, this operator we have chosen is well defined and is continuous as well in that sense. Then the next thing is to prove for positivity and boundedness, okay? So we prove for positivity and boundedness using the ideas that I've already explained here. So in the normal ODE sense, for positivity and boundedness, you would have just taken some of the space or equate it to 0, try to find some something about the equation. So this is exactly the same technique we follow here, just that here for the positivity and boundedness, you need this idea of the integral representation, and then to be able to bound each of these terms, each of these equations appropriately. So this is not a difficult, this is a bit of a technique, but not really complicated. Um, I'll talk really more on the existence and uniqueness on how to prove it. So you need to show the existence and uniqueness of these models. Of course, usually if they are deterministic models, we don't really bother too much on showing the existence and uniqueness of them because they are usually coming from the Picard iteration techniques. But for fractional models, these are not well known. So sometimes I try to talk about them a bit more. So if you want to show the existence and uniqueness of such model of fractional differential equations, you have to take, if you take your vector x, then we take another vector x bar such that your function would satisfy this Lipschitz uniform continuity here. And once you can show for this, then it's easy to show for the existence and uniqueness of your model. Okay, so those are this is the main, this lemma here is the main thing that really helps us to then show for the existence and uniqueness of this model, where the LK here really comes again into the model here, right? And then the omega you define is as well here. Then we say that the model exists and has a unique solution and is uniformly Lyapunov stable as well. But some of the main things that I'll talk about, which is the common ones, as the equilibrium and basic reproduction number. So to do for basic reproduction number, we all know what you need to do. You need to split your compartments or your models into two aspects. One is the rate of production of new infections, and the other is the transition of new infections. So we take the model, right? And then we split it into two. One, rate of production of new infection, another, the transition of new infections. And then if we do that, we see that this F calligraphic X is given by this, and then this calligraphic V is also given by this. And once we have these two, the next thing is to linearize these two vectors, right? So F, we linearize it against X, and then V, we also linearize against X. So by linearization, which is a process of which is just like the Jacobian, we are finding the Jacobian of these, means take the first row and then find the derivative with respect to E, with respect to IA, IS, P, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the same thing for all the rows, all the elements in the different rows, and then do the same as well for V, the calligraphic V. So if you do that, then the linearized infected subsystems, you will get this F now, which is a 4x4, and then this V, which is also a 4x4, where this C1, C2, C3 alphas, we have described them perfectly here. So the next thing is really to find the basic reproduction number. So the basic reproduction number, we said, is the spectral radius. Spectral radius is the spectral radius of a K, and this K here is what we mean by the product of F and then the inverse of V. So if you find this product, you get a K which looks like that: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But you realize that there are 2 0 rows in this K. And whenever you have such a case where you have rows, 2 0 rows, the system becomes really unstable. So there are ways to then, we try to find a method where we'll be able to still find the spectral radius of such a matrix. And this we do by taking a transformation matrix. So this transformation matrix we take here really will remove the zero the two rows which are all 0, 0, 0, right? We try to remove these two rows from the matrix, and then if we do that, we reduce the matrix now to a 2 by 2 matrix, right? And then with that, it's easy. We'll be able to find then the spectral radius of this matrix, and we know from matrix theorems that the spectral radius of this matrix K is the same as the spectral radius of this matrix Ks, which has been transformed, right? Which is a transformed matrix now. So we trust that idea, and then we use that these spectral radiuses are equal, and this is given by half the trace of Ks plus the square root of K, the trace of Ks squared minus 4 determinant of Ks. And then if you use that, then you'll be able to write the basic reproduction number in this long equation that is given by equation 6. So once we have the basic reproduction number, of course, we can do then stability analysis. So we can do some local stability analysis as well as global stability analysis. So for local stability analysis, we try to find the disease-free equilibrium point of the model, and then we say that it is locally asymptotically stable if the spectral rate, the basic reproduction number is actually less than 1, right? So it is unstable if it is greater than 1. For global stability analysis, it is not the same as in the deterministic case. So here, you remember when I started, I said that these operators are local or are non-local, right? So maybe I go back and I try to show you, I stated this here that these fractional derivatives are non-local, okay? So when you then come to trying to show for global stability, you need different idea. This idea is what we call the Ulam-Hayes stability criterion. That states that take your derivative or rewrite your dynamical system. Sorry, I go back here. Rewrite this dynamical system we wrote here, and then check that it is bounded above, right? By some epsilon, which is positive. So by Ulam-Hayes stability, this is what you need to show. If you're able to show this, then you can state that you have achieved global stability. And then the criteria says that first, take an H, which is in your Banach space epsilon, and that satisfies this condition. And also to ensure that your fractional, the dynamical system here is also has a plus H on the right-hand side. So this H is really critical. And then to show that all you do is, this is the definition for Ulam-Hayes. It says that the model 1 and equivalently 2 is Ulam-Hayes stable if we can prove that there is a constant CK, which is positive, that for every epsilon, each solution X of bar, which is in the Banach space, satisfies our Ulam-Hayes stability criteria here. And then there is some X as well in the Banach space of 2, such that there's the difference, right? The norm difference is bounded above by this term here. So the proof is actually not complicated. You just have to start from this difference here and use the definition of the norm. And if you use that, you'll be able to write it really smoothly, not very complicated at all. Then you have a generalized Ulam-Hayes stability. So for the generalized Ulam-Hayes stability, it states that now we can have a generalized, so you see the difference here is that here we say that we take two vectors, the difference in the norm is bounded above by some CK of epsilon. This epsilon is greater than 0. But for the generalized one, now we take this phi k is also the same as CK, but a bit more a bit different. But now of this epsilon, what we need in addition is that this phi of k at 0 should give us 0. We need this condition in addition to the Ulam-Hayes stability. Then we can state that we have a generalized Ulam-Hayes stability. And also the same is not really complicated. The proof follows really smoothly as well. I think the only difference is that now you have to be a bit careful of the fact that you are dealing with a non-local operator. So once you have local stability, global stability, once you show for these things, then you can also show again the same idea that you did for the local stability here, right? You can show again that also it is globally stable as well. So now I show some numerical results that we used some type of Adam type predictor corrector iterative scheme where we consider a uniform discretization of the grid. Of course, sometimes some people also use the non-standard discretization of the grid, which is also very interesting. We consider an initial data point X naught to be 93,000, exposed is 1,000, asymptomatic is 50, symptomatic is 50, recovered is 0, and the pathogens are 500. So we use this then to just test and run sample cases of what this means. So if we take the susceptible class, you see for alpha is equal to 0.7 is the blue line, alpha is equal to 0.8 is the green line, and alpha is equal to 1, which is the baseline, or what we know from the ODE is also the magenta line, and they all follow in a similar pattern, right? If you take the infectious asymptomatic, you see that for there's a bit of some difference between, for instance, if you take the blue line, which is alpha is equal to 0.7, and the magenta line, which dips a bit later and then comes down quicker than, for instance, alpha is equal to 0.7. So this is the dynamics of when you have different fractional orders. So we order 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and 1. And we see if they follow similar patterns. And then here we take, if we take order 0.7, now we want to see how it behaves for the whole compartment. And we see that the behaviors of all these orders on the same compartment behave similarly as alpha is equal to 1 on the same compartment. All right, so in conclusion, I've shown you Caputo fractional order, existence and uniqueness, stability properties of the model, and then numerical results. So some future works that we are currently, we are done now, is under preprint, is the optimal control for the fractional order COVID-19 models, or for tumor models. We've done the optimal control of these models as well. And then we also have some stochastic COVID-19 models that we've also finished as preprint as well here with some of my students as well. So Solomon was at Ames, Cameroon, and then he finished his work we are publishing the paper, but now he's at North Dakota as well, doing his master's. And then Michael is a PhD student here with me at the University of Cape Coast. So thank you very much for your time, and then I'll be happy to answer your questions as well.
So thank you very much, Dr. Moore, for the wonderful talk. Do we have any questions from the participants? Please, you can mute yourself if you have any questions.
Yeah, Dr. Moore, I mean, this is a great presentation, and we really thank you for the insightful work you've done. Now, I'm curious to know the capital derivatives, they were chosen randomly, right?
What do you mean by choosing randomly?
Like 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, up to 1.
Yeah. So we just chose them. Yeah.
Okay.
We just chose them as just to check.
Just to check.
We
Okay.
didn't have any reason, any specific reason for choosing them.
No, I mean, there's I know you didn't want to go into the data-driven stuff, but because you want to honor your students. But with data-driven, I know there is also the fractional pins.
Yes.
That I don't know if any paper has been done on learning those optimal capital.
Derivatives.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any paper on that.
Yeah, I've not seen any paper on that as well.
Yeah, I said that because one of my colleague, I think when we started thinking of these things, if my memory serves me right, our group wanted to go that direction. If not, then I don't remember clearly. But it could be a very good work to see which capital learning those parameters will will the impact of those
Yeah,
it
yeah.
will give. And then finally, the stochastic models, Michael is working on that, right?
Yes, yes.
I think we published a paper on that on SEINN, stochastic.
Yeah, I've seen it. So I think we'll come to that hopefully I hope that with Michael or with someone else, we would like to also do that. So with Michael, the stochastic that he did, it was more on the stochastic malaria and COVID co-infection.
Okay, I see.
The model he designed so far, what he did was for Gaussian noise.
For
When
Gaussian
you have
noise.
Gaussian noise, so
Okay,
he's doing this. He's still working on. He will start working hopefully by December on the non-Gaussian noise,
okay.
which means when you have like levy process and stuff like that. So that's what he's doing. He will start doing now. But I think this idea of stochastic pins is something that we can easily do. I mean, you are the expert in it, so
Yeah.
we can easily combine the pins and then the stochastic model that we have here. It's about 13 compartments,
Wow,
so
that's a lot.
huge one. And
Yeah.
so be happy to have any assistance to
No
collaborate
problem.
direction as well.
No problem. Thank you.
All right.
Mhm.
Do we have any other questions from the participants? Okay, so I have a quick question, probably not a question, but you talked about using 500 pathogens. I was just wondering if you could have used more or less, but why 500?
Yeah, so honestly, the simulation we did was really a toy, uh, just a toy case. It was not really like a very realistic numbers that we use. 93,000 population. We don't even know which population is that 93, but so it's just kind of a toy case. I think it's possible to really test for a genuine population and use it for the analysis. Usually, once I do the theory, the rest is the same. So I just give them to undergraduate students to give them the code for them to just play around it and test their own ideas as well. So maybe this is something that will be interesting to really see real cases. We take Ghana data, Ghana population, and expose number EI, and then see if we can quantify the pathogens or not. I think these are things that can be done.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So yeah, so if you're also listening and then you want to do something in fractional, just reach out to me. The codes are there. I'm willing. I'll share them. Hopefully by the end of the year, I'll make them available for everyone to also use for their research and publications as well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mo. Right, so thank you for the talk. Our next
right.
would be by Mary Kama, and she'll be talking about machine learning algorithm for income classification. So Mary, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and start. I'll share my screen. I'll be sharing Mary's slides. So just a second.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm ready now. Thank you very much.
Please, I hope you can see my screen. These are Mary's slides. So let me just click on the slide. Okay, Mary, you can go ahead and start.
Yes. My name is Mary Kamba from Nigeria. Working on our project is on machine learning algorithm for income classification. Please move to introduction. Introduction. Next slide, please. Okay. So income classification introduction. And when we talk about income classification, it is a common knowledge that income are being classified based on the class level. We have the low income earners, the middle, and the high income earners. And this income earning is based, or there are factors that are affected based on gender, age, then educational factors, and then a person's working sector. These are the factors that can either enhance or decrease one's income earning ability. Now, machine learning for the past 10 years, it has been spreading like wildfire to many facets of human endeavor, and thereby providing solutions. And in this our technological era, we believe that there's no limit to which technology can go about providing solutions to human needs. And machine learning and artificial intelligence is one of such solutions to our human needs. Here we try to utilize the technology and the models that accompanies it in order to be able to go deep into our data set to gain insight from it, as well gain understanding, and try to make some questions and decisions as to why some things happen the way they are, and come up with a solution to such problems. So based on this, the data set was collected from, please go to use case. Next slide. We collected our data set from OpenML and originally extracted from the 1994 years census database. That was where we collected our data set from. And the work is aimed at using machine learning algorithms to classify individuals or persons or households into different income categories. Actually, there have been a lot of income classification articles everywhere, but when it comes to using or utilizing our machine learning technique, there have been some limitations on it. Our objective was to fit in 4 classification models and to find the best model that describe our data set. And these models that we used were random forest model, logistic regression, support vector machine, and decision tree. As well, we use synthetic minority oversampling technique as to determine the model accuracy, thereby using it to test each of these models to be able to picture out the model that have the highest accuracy. Methodology. After having collected our data set from the data source, which the link is in the previous slide, we use Python language and Jupyter Notebook to do the task. And then the total number of rows in our data set was 48,842, and it was 15 columns. We did a data cleaning, so then we'll be able to remove some null values, some data inconsistencies, and duplicate values in order to clean up our data and have an accurate data, as to give an accurate visualization and predictions in our data set. Thank you very much. So after we must have done the cleaning and analyze, to gain an insight from the data set, and our results, in our findings, we're able to discover that the total number of people from our data set that earn less, because in our data set, it was people earning less than $50,000 per annum, or people that earn more than $50,000 per annum. We discovered that the people that earn less are far greater than the people that earn more than $50,000 per annum. And I would try to visualize them based on the age. Based on the age, it was obvious that people within the age bracket was between 19 to 90 years of age. Then people within the age of 41, 41 to 50 are the people that are within the higher income earning rate than the people within 19 to 30. It is practically obvious that people within the age of 19 may not possibly earn up to the amount of the people within the age of 31 to 40. Reason being that maybe they have not been exposed, they don't have the privilege to travel, to get more connections, get more opportunities, take some risks, based on the fact that some of them within the age of 19 to 20 are still tied within their parents' constraints. Then when it is a period of 50, 51 to 60 and above, there's a decrement. I'm still within the age limit. I'm still explaining the age limit. So there's a decrement. And based on this visualization, this will now begin to call our attention into the age when it comes to income classification of the United citizen in the private industry and above $50,000 per annum. The people who are self-employed are likely to earn more than that. Is, in summary, people that are self-employed, people that are working in the private sector that have their own personal businesses or industries, that they are the people that are more likely to earn more than that $50,000. Then furthermore, we went further to discover that even if we go beyond the citizens, it is still the same thing applicable that people working in the government sectors and other sectors they don't make beyond $50,000. That people that make more of this $50,000 are limited to people, excuse me, that work in the private sectors. Then we can, the next slide, please. Hello, please, next slide. Yes. We now went further to visualize on our data set and discover that although in our working environment and everywhere, even in our local settings, men make more money, make more income compared to women. I think that's one of the reasons why they are not encouraged. Women tech, women are being encouraged to come and enhance and embrace the new technology, gain the opportunity to get up to a certain percentage in the work environment and in every other sectors. So from our data set, it's discovered that about 11% of the females make more than this $50,000, but it cannot be compared with the total number of male that make more than that. Like male make 2 times or 3 times of, as in 3 times of the total percentage of men cannot be more than the women that make such income. Next slide. yes, I was previously saying, like, when we compared to the Black, the white, other races, discover that irrespective of the race, so making below or beyond is not limited to a particular race. So irrespective of the race, from here now, it's discovered that actually, irrespective of the race, the percentage of those who earn over $50 per annum is still considerably less to the people that earn below. And the next slide. Yes. We come to visualize based on people that are married, people that own children, people that are not in family, the singles, a wife, then other relatives. From here now, it's found that see people that own children, their earning rate is still less. Then the husband and wives are more likely to earn more than $50,000 in a year than other categories. So what could be the reason why husband and wife earn more compared to maybe singles and people that own children and all that? Yes, thank you. Next slide. Yes. We come up to here, we have people that are never married, the people that are divorced, widowed, and separated. Here, still married citizens who are civilians have higher chance of, like in the previous visualization, husband and wife have higher chances of making more than. Then still here, down here, people that are married still have higher chances of making more than that $50,000 per annum compared to people that are separated or people that are divorced. Or could we liken it to maybe it's as a result of the separation or their emotional effect is limiting their earning or their strength or their capability to go out there and search for opportunities and be able to embrace the opportunity and explore and make more income. Yes, from here now, we come to visualize about the educational standard. I'm not seeing it clear. So from here now, we found that from the data set, we have people that are bachelor's degree, the master's, and I'm not seeing it clearly. I don't know.
Would you like me to like enlarge the slide, the image on the slide?
The associate admin that. Okay, good. So that I was.
Then let me just go back to it.
So now, from here now, people that are more educated have higher chances of earning over. I could remember when I did my undergraduate study. After my undergraduate program, I wrote for my master's. During my master's now, I gained more network, got to know a lot of people. There was privileged to get a connection that a link was shared and I applied for scholarship and I got it. So from here, from my experience and from this data set, I think it is more because the more you explore, the more you get connection, the more you build network, the more you get opportunities, it is far more understandable to me that the data set here that says that from our visualization that people that are more educated and have higher chances of earning beyond the $50,000 is obvious, because the more you go, the more you get network, the more you get connection, the more you get opportunities, the more you try to explore, the more you try to embrace the opportunity, the more you try to take risk and do some others. Just like they said, an optimist see opportunity in every calamity, and the pessimist see calamity in every opportunity. The next. Yes. Then after the visualization, we did our data modeling. First, we have to encode all the categorical features into numerical features. Here we found that after our correlation, discovered that there's no correlation that exists between the features and our target variable. The relationship exists between them is quite low. And based on this, since we have observed that the correlation that exists between our feature and target variables are low, then we employ our random forest feature importance, which ranks the features by relevance to the data set. We also use, like I said earlier, that we also used synthetic minority oversampling techniques in order to be able to address the imbalance in our data set. At first, we used the model accuracy I did not screenshot that aspect, I'm sorry about it. We used the model accuracy. Firstly, we tested with 10 number of estimators and further increased it to 200 number of estimators in order to improve our accuracy. Now, then we use the SMOTE technique to compare our accuracy. In that comparison, we found out that the forest, our random forest classifier provides a higher accuracy compared to logistic regression and support vector machine. In support vector machine, when we tested with our synthetic minority oversampling techniques, it provides a lower accuracy compared to the existing results we got. The same thing was likened to logistic regression. But then when we tested it with our decision tree, it gave also a higher accuracy like the random forest. But in all our comparison, it was random forest classifier that gave us the highest accuracy of our model predictions among all the 4 models that we used. Of a truth, work had already been done on our project. And the first person that did his work on this project was Chondachan in 2021. In his predictions, he used linear regression and random forest. And then he also used the other was used, but it was not in the same line with what the models we use. Secondly, him and Jingling were not able to use smooth techniques to be able to ascertain or determine their exact model accuracy as to test whether if their model accuracy is the exact, which we went further to use the synthetic minority oversampling technique to test our models to determine the exact model that gives us the highest. Although in jingling analysis and predictions, gave him the highest accuracy, but he was not able to use gap that we identified in our research and the existing work that had already been carried out. So in my conclusion, random forest gave the highest accuracy among this conclusion. And on the next highest accuracy among all the models that we used, even using the smooth technique. But then there is no proper analysis of the factors that contribute to a person's income earning ability. Like we said, yes, married people were able to earn higher. So what are the factors that contributed to those married people's ability to earn higher? Is it that people that did not earn higher or people that did not have the highest degree will not be able to make beyond expected income or go beyond the low level or middle class income earners? So these are the questions. I recommend that future or further research can go further to collect data and make an analysis and predictions, and so as to be able to come out with decisions. Okay, if people that are more educated make more income, on what aspect of skills should they engage themselves into? Like in this technology era now, there are a lot of skills that are going on, that even somebody that knows computer science can just wake up and want to get a skill in the tech industry and choose a particular programming language on his own and keep on learning and growing and exploring. So when it comes to that, I think I suggest or recommend that further study should be carried out, and especially narrowing it to the educational standards and going deeper in the aspect of skill earning. Then when we come to talk about the married and the singles, what are the things that make the married make? Is it something that the singles cannot as single? Because when one is single, he has the opportunity to even explore, because when you are married, especially as a woman, once a woman is married, some restrictions are placed on her, even without her husband telling her. She should know that she take care of the family, she put things in order, and just like that. It's just like it's common to every woman. So when one is single, we have the opportunity to explore more. What makes the married to make more money compared to singles? What are the skills they learn? What are the opportunities they explore? So if we can get more data to be able to generate and gain more insights, so as to be able to provide solutions and make decisions on the best way to follow as singles to grow in our income earning. Then when it comes to aged people, at a certain stage, they don't have strength again. Their blood is no longer hot. They may not explore like the way they used to do. So what should they do at their youthful age based on this data set we've collected? We believe on what we see. When we begin to use this data set to gain insight and tell this person, see what is happening, see the outcome, and the person is seeing it, that Mr. A, when he was young, he was making such amount. When he got married, he was actually balancing. But at a certain stage, he started depreciating based on these reasons. It will help us to grow in our knowledge and idea about income earning, and then expand our horizon and help us to better prepare ourselves ahead of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary. So first, I would like to really apologize for the slide presentation. So Mary was having some technical difficulties, so she sent me her slide, and I was the one controlling this. So I apologize if they did not match up when she was giving her talk. So thank you, Mary, for the talk. And do we have any questions from
Thank you.
the participants?
Yeah, I think I would like to. Thank you very much, Mary. I like how you were passionate about what you are doing, and
Thank you.
I'm also doing something like this. I just started my journey, so I enjoyed your presentation so much. Thank you. So I'm just curious. Okay, I just started my machine learning journey. In your presentation, I heard you said you use classification models to do the analysis. Okay, and I really like how you did the exploratory data analysis. But my question is, apart from classification, I may be wrong. Is there any other machine learning models you think can help to still make an effective analysis based on the recommendations you are talking about when you get the data? Thank you.
Yes, I think they could be. They should be. For now, I've not researched to know whether if this or another one can. So this was just the limited one we picked to do our task.
Okay, thank you. Since
So it's not
is
about
there...
testing. When we test and it doesn't work, we can just leave it.
Okay. All right, thank you. I was thinking, since you said some work has been done on this already, the same data set, I think to make the work sometimes, I know you've done other analysis on it too, to make the work sometimes stand out very much. I know there's this joining of data set, or you getting, let's say, your own data set, as you said, and then maybe looking at some other models that can also help to make the analysis very effective can also stand out. Yeah, thank you very much.
I didn't hear you. I don't know.
I think
Hello,
can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Yeah, I'm saying that since you said some work has been already done on this, and you also did something in addition. So I was just suggesting that since some work has been done already, if probably you could get some other machine learning methods that can also help to make the same effective analysis on the data set. Or I saw your recommendation that you are looking at merging other data set also. I think those ones will help to also make the work in they can stand out. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions from the participants?
Yes, thank you. I have this question. I don't know if you mentioned $50,000. You know, here in Africa, $50,000 is obviously a huge money. So, do you have your target group, or you just consider everybody? Because some people in their life, they will never even see that $50,000 in their life. And also, if you consider certain target group, and we know obviously that some people at certain age will also earn more than people under the age. So can you make clarification for that?
Honestly, we did not pick a specific target group. And this your question, I like it now. We now bring it into our work now. Filtering out a specific target group in the earning. Thank you very much.
Okay, welcome.
I think I want to just make a contribution to Mary's work. I think it's a great work. So specifically, if I'm right, this data, it belongs to the US economy, right? So, and I
Yes.
think the analysis is for the US. Now, a few things I noted in your analysis, you did a very awesome job with the EDA exploratory data, very intense, very detailed, and that's a good work you've done. I think to take it to a publishable level, I suggest two things. One, try to do sensitivity analysis of the feature importance, right? So you in your recommendation, you made mention of the fact that, well, if we classify into less than 50,000, greater than 50,000, what are the features we can call the lacking variables that are also contributing to that results. So you want to do like feature sensitivity analysis. So for example, you talked about the gender, you also made mention of the education skill and all that. So try and see which of these features, right,
Yeah.
will really give you a good analysis. I think if you do that, it will take the paper to a publishable level. Next one also is the metrics. The metrics you use in your final analysis, you talked about classification, but I like the fact that you said that it was an unbalanced data, which is great. So if it's an unbalanced data, we don't use accuracy in the first place. It's obvious the data you have is unbalanced. So you may think of the F1 score, the precision and all that. If you can put all these together, I think you have a good paper. I think you have a very robust paper, and you compare it with the two publishers, the two authors that have published the same paper, and then you match boot by boot the results they've gotten, and then you do the sensitivity analysis, and then you also show precision score, recall, and all those other matrices that are used for unbalanced data. I think your work should be great.
Okay. Please, I wrote it down. You said I should try to go further in doing sensitive analysis of the future importance.
Yes, this has been recorded.
Analysis.
Yeah, sensitivity analysis. This has been recorded, so you have it back and you can play it. And
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
We'll send the recording.
It will be shared in our emails.
I think so.
Yes, we'll send you the.
Okay, beautiful.
So thank you, Mary, for the question. Thank you, Dr. Tuku, for suggestions. And afterwards,
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Afterwards, we'll share the email address. So if you also want to connect with them or network with them and maybe publish some papers, that would be good. Does someone have something to say?
Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Okay. Yeah, please go ahead, Theo.
My name is Theophilus, and I apologize. I'm in an obscure location, so I couldn't show my face. So maybe you might have said this already, so forgive me if I'm just taking you back. When you talk about the accuracy, I wanted to know, like, how did you determine the accuracies?
Okay, we used the synthetic minority oversampling technique. After we must have made our prediction, ran our model predictions, we now used the smooth technique to determine if what we are getting is, this kind of thing, you try to test with one and another thing to check if what you're getting is exactly correct. Then we discovered that it was increasing it increased the accuracy of random forest and that of decision tree, but decreased the result of logistic regression and support vector machine. So we use the smooth technique to determine it. Hello?
Okay. So this is my first time hearing that technique. So can you hear me?
Hello? Yes, I can now.
Yeah,
yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah. So does your technique involve some kind of, like, you train your models with different data sets, and then you do the prediction using like a test set? Is that what you did?
Hello, Mary. Did you get your philosophy question?
I think her network is not helping.
Yeah, I think she's having some network difficulties. Your philosophy, would it be all right to maybe maybe type your question in the chat?
Write the question in the chat.
Yeah, can write the question in the chat, and I'm sure she would answer it.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
I thank you for your question, and thank you, Mary, for the presentation. Okay, so we have a talk actually. We wanted to do that towards the end of the program, but unfortunately, Dr. Tuku has to leave us in the next few minutes. So we would let him give us the job talk, and then we'll continue with the other presentations. So our next presentation is about job opportunities in US, in the United States, in study tips by Dr. Thomas Tuku. So, and Dr. Tuku, whenever you're ready, you can start.
Okay, thank you guys. I'm really passionate about this space, and before I do that, I want to tell you that I generated this PowerPoint from ChatGPT. You have no idea. And then I just modified it. Why am I passionate about this AI landscape? I'll just show you a little bit. So for example, just yesterday, I asked ChatGPT, I'm giving a talk about the job landscape in US and beyond in AI, and then it generated all of these for me. And then I'm using the paid premium version, so I have the opportunity to do amazing stuff. It can put everything in PowerPoint for me. If you are using the free version, you don't have that capabilities. You can do PowerPoint, you can
We
do
need some more. We need some.
okay. Okay, I see. Um, it basically put everything in PowerPoint for me. I downloaded and then I had to tweak it and all that. Now, why must we know how to use this thing? It's like there is even a job opening for prompt engineering. How one is able to use this tool effectively for productivity and also basically for most things you would ask Google, like Google this for me, Google this for me. That would take you into several links. Now, ChatGPT has been optimized that you can basically do things on the fly and have things done. Now, with that being said, in the job market today, there's a great percentage of, I just want to give some statistic, what we call generative AI. Now, just to go in retrospect a little bit, we have machine learning, we have deep learning, and now the new move today is everything is about Gen AI. Gen AI. So if you hear Gen AI, is simply generative. Generative means it generates data for you through a model we call large language model, LLM. So large means that it has been trained on several data sets across the internet over several decades, over several years, so that when you give it a new input, it's able to go back in time and generate what you want in the now. It's so interesting to know that because this Gen AI will make companies, businesses, their work more productive, more efficient. It was said in Davos, I think last year, that the top CEOs in America started using ChatGPT to write emails. That is where we're going. Now, if you have a large trove of data set or document that you are a CEO to read through everything and generate just 5 lines of a summary or something like that, that would take you like hours. And you can use that hours to go get another business connection and whatnot. So you just ask ChatGPT to write just this for you. That's where companies are finding niches. They are finding niche in the fact that they can leverage on these LLM models to help their work. So anything that is repetitive, say you write a report, anything that is repetitive in that nature could be done by a Gen AI model. I'll give a little statistics and then I go into my talk. So this is from KPMG. It's one of the leading companies in terms of accounting firms. And I also go to my company. I will give you some tips in if you want to apply to jobs in America. So one, AI replacing job statistics. Already AI is in the workplace. 77% of businesses are already using or exploring AI. Large businesses are twice as likely as to use AI than small businesses. IT professionals use AI in the most workplace. There's a 30% rate of adoption of generative AI in marketing and advertising. Interesting stuff, interesting stuff. Now, how does this help the programmer or the data scientist? So I say in this day and age, there's no code. You basically code. So for example, what Mary Kama did, I can basically ask ChatGPT to do it for me. So for example, write a code that classifies income based on this based on this criteria. So less than 50K and greater than 50K. Okay, so because I'm using the paid version, I can equally go forward and ask ChatGPT to generate a document for me, and it will do that on the fly. These are the leverages that companies want to take advantage of. So while I talk about this, I want you guys to begin to think, if you're applying for any job and you have anything AI or LLM, if you're in America here, it's a game changer. So for example, I'll say generate the data and do EDA. So I'm saying, hey, go ahead and generate the data for me. See, it's going to generate the data and do the and then show me graphs. That's what we get as those who use the paid version. It's going to generate graphs. Now, if companies have these tools, they are going to lay off all the people who do this manually through Excel, because by having this as a tool, those who know how to use this tool will always be in demand. And that's why it's very important that we begin to think in the long term and then our skill set as well. So if I say it should generate the graphs, it will generate some graphs for me. Generate some graphs for me. So I'm just showing this so that you begin to have appreciation and a sense of why this tool is very important. And then why we have to learn behind the hood what is going on. Because if you're going to be employed by an employer in this day and age, you have to know what is going under the hood in this Gen AI. Very, very important. Now it goes from deep learning. So from machine learning, because over time, the evolution is that machine learning was limited in its in the applications we could do because of infrastructure. Now we have a lot of infrastructure like GPU, graphic processing unit. We have massive cloud storage system, memory capacities and all that. So deep learning came into the picture and people were like, wow, we thought we have arrived. Then there was this quest for Gen AI. At that point, Google was also working on that, but for whatever reason, and it's known to them, for whatever reason, they didn't release their version of ChatGPT earlier on, and then OpenAI came as of November 30th that it was released. I don't have the statistics right, but they have over 100 million less than a year, because in November 30th is going to be a year. Less than a year, I'm pretty sure they have over 100 million users. Compared to companies that have sprung up, ChatGPT has shown this amazing capabilities that has launched the whole world into a frenzy, into this state of everybody now exploring AI. I showed you this so that you understand where the world is getting to right now, that being able to leverage these tools will make you a hot cake candidate. Now, for example, I want to apply to there's a company at work, JP Morgan. I'm just going to show an example. God, JP. Let me say JP Morgan career. Okay, so I go to careers, and then there are a lot of things you can you can expect. You should look at graduate. If you're already a professional, you go there. But one of the things you should look out for is how to package yourself, how to package yourself to be able to land a job within these big firms. One, you should know what the job requires. So I want to explore some of the programs, some of the things that, for example, if you are interested. So for example, internship, for example, if I'm interested in internship, I go to explore the internship space. There are a lot of them. I'm going to read the requirements. So I'm going to go to AI data science opportunities, and there are many of them. I'm going to read, and I'm going to see what they require. Okay. So this is for AI summer interest in Africa. I never saw this. Okay. So the deadline is November 26th. AI Research Summer Associate. So this is in Africa. So I have to go there and see what the requirements of the job stipulate. So you have to apply before November 26th. And then of course, this is in London. It has specified, but I'm just giving you just a quick so it says currently pursuing master's degree or PhD in computer science or engineering, master's graduate. So you have to make sure that truthfully you adapt your resume according to the required qualifications that the job stipulates. And then you can also read through the preferred requirements. Of course, most companies will talk about this. And then you look at other ones that are relevant to your interest, and then you apply. So in conclusion, because I want to make it snappy, if you have any question, is that the AI ML data science landscape is evolving speedily. And I hope people, our colleagues, friends, brothers and sisters back home, whether Nigeria, I call Nigeria my second home, whether anywhere we are, we understand the evolution and we don't stay like, okay, I've arrived. The required skill right now is continuous learning. How am I able to learn fast? Even if you learn slowly, but you have the mind of adaptability, that in itself is the key and is the way to go in this ever evolving, ever changing job landscape. Thank you, everybody. And I pause for questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tuku. We'll take questions from participants. So whenever you're ready to ask a question, just unmute yourself.
I think I'll ask the first question.
Okay.
With the I saw how you generated the slides and all that.
Okay.
I don't know what type of advanced version are you using, because
yeah, you don't. So the advanced
it
version,
says that it can't generate images and all that, but
no, yours will not. Now, those of us who are doing the paid version,
I'm doing paid version.
yes, I pay $20 every month.
Yeah, the same to me too.
Oh, you should be able to have access then. Maybe I didn't want to go to I have a lot of things I've done on the slide.
I think we'll talk backstage then.
Yeah, we'll talk offline. Yeah. Any other question?
Yes. So there's a question in the chat. So
okay.
Theophilus, Indeed, we've seen your question. We'll get Mary to answer that for you. But there is a question from Mark Daniels, and it says that, Professor Tuku, can you please explain how your chat GPT is able to generate images and graphs? I also use the paid version, but apparently he uses the paid version, but it was unable to generate the images for him. He says it cannot do that. So he wants to know how you did it.
Yeah, I think I still want, I have a lot of things that I've done on the slide bar. I don't want to show it for public.
Prof. Doku should organize a 30-minute tutorial on how to do. For those of us in Ghana, unfortunately, we still use the free version. So
okay.
this is over our head.
Yeah, this is where I had. In fact, sometimes this like a lifesaver. Like, because if you have a huge data set and you are working on, what I normally do is I do proof of concept. We call it POC. And by me seeing the graphs with this help by ChatGPT, it's like way, way better than me trying to use days and hours to see the data itself. Now, alternatively, if you are using the free version, you can copy the data into an IDL or copy into Spider or Google Colab or something else, but it takes time. That's why I think the paid version is like a game changer for me. Besides, I started exploring the fact that it can put my data into my work into how do you call it? It can put my work into PowerPoint, Excel. Like, to me, it was like a game changer. But for Eric and McDaniels, I think I can see offline and share some practically how I got this. If you have the paid version, I can meet you one-on-one to show you. But
So
for
take your email afterwards and share with them. So
yes, please. Yeah, I can. Yeah, because I have some sensitive information I don't want to share.
okay.
Please. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, if no other questions, thank you, Dr. Toku, for the talk. So our next talk is by Mr. Theophilus Kofi, and he'll be talking about assessing the impacts of intervention programs on gang dynamics, a mathematical modeling approach. So Theophilus, whenever you're ready, you can start.
Right. Please, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So I'm speaking on the topic, assessing the impact of intervention programs on gang dynamics and mathematical modeling approach. My collaborators are Matthias Dobache, Lucero Rodriguez, and my own advisor, Professor Yukang. So I'll take you through a few introductions and some basic properties of the model, the stability analysis of the gang-free equilibrium, and some scenarios of some bifurcation diagrams. See, the issue of gangs continue to spread, in almost every part of the world. My own country, Ghana, here in the US, most especially in Chicago, it's so great that it puts a lot of fear in residents. I should also mention that as their impact began to sort of increase, their membership across where it's happening also sort of goes up. But on the average, if anyone here is in the US, do you sort of have an idea of how much the US government spent on correction facilities? Anyone can ask, anyone could sort of give an answer. Does anyone know that? Please, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. I guess we don't really have.
All right, so my slide is not moving anymore. Okay, so it may interest to know that the US government spent roughly 80 billion US dollars annually on corrections. So which means that which means that gang has great impacts on the nation's finances. And the question is, what age bracket or what category of people do gangs normally, target? So the gang membership usually spans on average from 13 to 30, which means that the youth is a big target for gang recruitment. Now, you see, Over here, we're going to adopt a mathematical approach to understand these dynamics and better to come up with some strategies in order to curb this menace in our various communities. Just like how Dr. Moore, used mathematical model to understand the spread of COVID-19. We use the same broad idea. Over here, we are seeing that in general, gang is not sort of infectious like COVID-19 in conventional sense. Okay, it's not infectious in conventional sense, but what they're saying is that their influence is spread quickly and they have greater impact wherever gang takes place. It's serious, especially when you go to Chicago. When you go there, you would say that most of the people, most of the various areas where gang is happening, the people living within that vicinity are trembling. They are all the time adopting certain, defensive behaviors in order to sort of be happy for themselves, because you cannot live in a society where, because of certain kind of people, you cannot go about your normal duties. Now, we consider a whole population, let's say a whole population like where I am, Arizona. Then we stratify the whole population into mutually exclusive compartments. What do you mean by mutually exclusive compartment? What do you mean by mutually exclusive compartment is that once you are in one group, you cannot at the same time be in another group. So one of the group we sort of stratified is what we call the susceptible group. So this represents the populations that are at risk of being recruited into gang. In this population, we're referring to the youth. Now, we also have another category of people, and we have the gang. As this represents the individual gang members who have been arrested for having engaged in a criminal activity. Then we have another group we call the reform members. These are people who are going through some programs, such as the rehabilitation programs. Now, this is a diagrammatic representation of our model. So there's always that inflow of individuals into the S compartment, and as they interact with the P, they sort of move into P. And there's that force of crime or that force of influence that is measured by lambda of T. And then when they are being released and go into programs, you go through correctional facilities, what happens is that some of them, after they are being released, they go back into their previous gang behavior. And that is measured by Rho1. Rho1 is what we call the recidivism parameter. Now, out of the flowchart, we come up with all these systems. And then we assume that the initial data for our model is non-negative. Now, so these are the parameters with their respective, descriptions. So we have the Rho1. I'm going to talk more about the Rho1. So let me mention that again. We have Rho1, which is the recidivism rate. We have the fear factor. We have the rate of influence. We have the intervention, rate, and the others. Now, since we are, sort of considering a human population, it is imperative that we ensure that the solution of the system, once positive and is bounded. Remember, we are considering a society, let's say a whole of Arizona. Whole of Arizona is within a certain domain, it cannot go above certain domains. So we have to make it is bounded. And then we ensure that every solution will exist within this invariant region. Now, everybody's talking about R0, or the basic reproduction number. What does it mean? So the basic reproduction number, as Professor Moore laid more emphasis on that. So because of that, I'm not talk much, but in my case, I'm going to talk about the implication and what it means. So the R gamma means that on the average, if somebody is in the youth, is part of a gang community, on the average, how many people can they influence to join their group? If, for instance, the youth, a particular group of youth are being recruited into the gang community, the question is, on the average, how many people can this youth influence other youth for them to join their community? And that's what the R gamma is all about. Now, with theorem 2, we want to talk about the local stability analysis of the gang-free equilibrium. And we say that it is locally, the gang-free is locally asymptotically stable whenever the R gamma is less than 1 and unstable whenever R gamma is greater than 1. What does this? What's the implication of this? We are saying that, look, for us to effectively reduce the menace of gang activities in the community, it is imperative, it's very important for us to ensure that the initial number is very, very, very small, and it is within the basin of attraction, which is the D I explained about. For us to effectively reduce it, it's imperative that we make sure that the initial numbers that are in the community are very, very small, and at the same time they are within the base of attraction. Now, is it always the case that we have to rely on the initial size subpopulations of the model? No, it's not always the case. Once you're able to prove the local stability of that, then we can confidently say that we can reduce or we can even curtail its menace or its impact in our communities when the necessary intervention programs have been put in place. Now, with a global stability analysis of the gang-free equilibrium, we say that this we can prove it for a very special case. And what special case are we talking about? We are saying that, look, for if we set the recidivism parameter to 0, what's the meaning of recidivism? Recidivism means that the tendency of somebody who was in a gang, who was once exhibiting a gang behavior, and after they have been released from prison, they go back into their previous, gang, behavior. So somebody is being arrested after involving in gang. When you release them, and they go back and commit the same crime, the same, and still, continue with their previous gang, then we are saying that if you're able to arrest that, if you're able to put a stop to that, then we can effectively reduce gang. And this makes sense in the real world. If people are incarcerated and when they go inside, we give them the necessary treatment. We are saying that once they are released into prison, if they don't go back into their previous criminal life or gang behavior, then we can say that we can confidently reduce the menace of gang activities in our various communities. In theorem 4, we use the center manifold theorem to prove the backward bifurcation of our system. So we are saying that our model undergoes a backward bifurcation at R gamma equal to 1 whenever the associated coefficient is measured by A and B are positive. This we proved using the Astulo-Chavez theorem on center manifold theorem. That is the theorem we use. Now, what is center backward bifurcation? I'll not talk much on I'll talk much on that here. The phenomenon of backward bifurcation means that R naught less than 1 or R gamma less than 1 is necessary, but it's not sufficient to reduce gang dynamics. It means that there's coexistence of another stable equilibrium where gang activities or behavior continue to grow or continue to exist. Now, we also identify something very important. What is that? That is, there was a forward bifurcation. We realized that when the fear factor and the release rate were set to 0, we identified a forward bifurcation. And what is forward bifurcation? Forward bifurcation means that if R gamma is less than 1, then we are saying that, and the right interventions are being put in place, we are saying that we can effectively reduce the menace of gang activities in our community. That's what the forward bifurcation is about. Now, over here, we are looking at another scenario where, in our case, we use the fear factor. The fear, in this case, we are looking at prison term length, okay? Are we going to sort of involve in a moderate or some sort of long sentence for people who were sort of caught in the act of committing crime or any other thing that is deemed inappropriate. So it is a profile of the gang individuals. we realized that when we increase the fear factor from 0 to let's say 2, we realize that the gang members or the population begins to fall down, which means that this is a good treatment. This is a good thing. We cannot always all the time and say that, oh, he just stole this, so just let it go. Or the person committed a serious crime or involved in a mass shooting, and when they are caught in the act, we said, oh, let's leave them, they'll change. No, we are saying that if we can sort of increase, or you can give them some punishment for some reason, we can effectively reduce it. But at some point, we realized that as we began to increase the prison term length, or sort of giving them severe punishment, we realized that they became more stubborn, so they began to go back. So the green represent the unstable, that in other words, saddle. They begin to exhibit unusual behavior. Their population, even though it is reducing, but at some point, we realized that when you look at a time series, when you use a time series profile, you would say that at some point it goes back. Then we also look at it on the reform members. We saw that when we increase the prison term length, we attained a stable population, but then it begins to fall down. Why is it the case? Probably maybe at some point, in as much as we are giving them the treatment on all of that, we were a bit relaxed. So a lot of things were happening. Over here, we considered the recidivism parameter as the main bifurcation parameter. We realized that as we increase as more people after their release from prison and they go back into the previous criminal life, as we release more and they are still going back into the prison, we are seeing that the prison, indeed, when they go back, they will still go and be part of the gang community or in prison. It may be interesting to know that, in as much as they go into prison, they go there to form gang. They go there to strengthen their existing, gang ties. In prison, it may be interesting to know that in prison, gang still goes on. So even when we castrate them, sometimes they're released, sometimes they go back to the community. They feel like the community is not a safe place for them. They still want to go back into prison. Why is it so? It is because they want to still go and establish the existing gang ties. Then we also look at it on the reform, on the reform population. We also saw that when we increase the recidivism parameter, it goes up a bit, which is good. It attains a peak, then it begins to fall. Why is it the case? Because probably they were not well reintegrated into the society. All the support, all the necessary support, the services that we need to give them, probably we lay back, we become relaxed. We thought that, come on, I think we've given them good treatment. So but no, if you relax, then it means that they would be longing to go back into their previous, criminal life. We also, at this point, we also looked at the profile of the gang population using the gamma, which is in our case the intervention, as our main bifurcation, parameter. And we realized that as we increase as we increase the intervention programs, we realize that the prison population, so the gang individuals, so the population begins to fall, which is good. Over here, I should sort of mention that it is possible to address the underlying factors or problems that sort of, frequently result in criminal behavior by granting access to rehabilitation treatment programs, including education, vocational training, counseling, and therapy. You see, people are less likely to involve in criminal activities after they are released from prison if they feel welcome, if we give them the necessary support. If people are released from prison and when they come back to the society, go through the correction facilities and they feel welcomed, they receive the necessary support. We are saying that, look, when these behaviors, when you give them this proper training, they will not go back. Like what was happening when we were increasing it, when we're intensifying the intervention programs, like we were counseling them, as this gamma is increasing, it means that we are intensifying the intervention as we are giving them treatment like the counseling, like education, the resources, or employment, and all of that, the necessary support. We see that their population begins to fall down, and that's what we are interested in. The same applies to the reform members. We also saw that as we intensified the intervention programs, we saw that the population goes up, which is good for us. But at some point, if we relax, then the instability begins to set in. At this point, I would want to say that for us to effectively reduce, the behavior of gang members in our communities, it is important to not just rely on one thing, but to look at it in a holistic point of view. And what strategies are going to be? Should be try and combine some strategies, some intervention strategies together, such as prison term, actually giving them, instead of lengthening the prison term, we should make it more moderate, and then also we should give them a regular intervention strategy, which would be prison ministries, like how my own church is doing, Church of Pentecost, going to ministry, talk to them about the Word of God and all of them. And also education programs like UCC is doing. UCC is also offering good training for prisoners, inmates, giving them education. They have a distance. So once they are released from prison, they don't go back into their previous criminal life. Workshop in prison, these things are so important. I cannot overemphasize this. Workshops, at least we need to give them some vocational training, some basic skills. So once they're in prison, they are okay. So once they are released, they'll go back and they are okay. They don't have to think about, so when I go back into the community, what am I going to do? You see, these things are so important. You also have to provide them with a storehouse of information. You need to give them information. Give them all the information, like what our own Dr. Toku gave a talk on how we can explore areas to get employment. In prison, these things can happen. We can still give them this kind of education. So once they are being released, they can still sort of take advantage, leverage on these sort of tools for them to better their lives. Some non-organization, profit organizations are also engaged in women and men who are who have served their time in prison. We are saying that some basic skills and resources that would sort of effectively help them transition back into society. So at this point, I want to say a big thank you to everyone, for sort of taking the time to listen to my talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kofi. Thank you for the talk. Do we have any questions from the participants?
Yeah, I have a question. For your conclusion, you say that when you give them intervention strategies like a talk, maybe after they release from prison, they may not go back to the gang. But when you go back to your model, can you go back to your model? Just the compartmental diagram, the chemical model.
Okay.
All right. So you can see that we have recovered. Now the recovered group, they either move back to the prison or they become susceptible. Oh, the mean is the natural death rate, right?
Yes, they're removed. Yeah.
Okay, now where the compartment that tells us that these people, maybe after the intervention, they now recovered fully from gang. They will not go back. Do you mean everybody after the prison, they'll go back to become susceptible?
So the point that is a very interesting question. I think the last time when I gave a talk in one of our conferences, I received the same question. You see, we don't live in a perfect community. What do I mean? No matter how best, for example, even in teaching, or if you are teaching a group of people, no matter how best you think you've given the idea, if you've taught a class, people will still will not understand what you teach. So in the same way, you see, once they are in prison, in as much as you are giving them all this training and all of that, some of them will still not. In as much as you are giving them the support, you are giving them, they haven't access to employment opportunities, they haven't access to, they will still not. Because probably they have strong ties. Some families have, have historical, background. They sometimes they feel like, oh, my father did it, my mom did it, my uncle did it. So it's as if this is the journey, or this is the destiny of our family. So sometimes, in as much as you are giving them all those necessary tools, you're giving them all those strategies, all those resources, all the reasons you can think of, they still would not want to sort of be okay. They still want to go back because they find that their life is in the prison.
Thank you. It's like, sorry for, but it's still like you didn't get my question. I understand what you are saying. Definitely, some may go back to the same gang group, but I'm talking about those people after the prison. They will learn a lesson by saying, okay, after being in prison, I'm not going back to the gang. Now I've recovered completely. So I'm looking for the compartment that are fully recovered, not those that are fully brown with the gang activities. Okay. Now after the prison, they are fully recovered. They will not go back again.
Okay, so when you look at there's that outflow from R to S, so it means that they can still be susceptible, and that is measured by the R rule 2. Over here, that one of the assumptions was that they will still go back into the S compartment. Remember, the X compartment refers to the individual who are susceptible, so they will still be susceptible. Please, do you get what I'm trying to say? The outflow from the R to X means that they will still be susceptible. They'll still be prone, in as much as they've gone through that. Once they are released into the society, in as they are well reintegrated into society, they will still be susceptible because there's a flow from R to X. They'll still be susceptible.
All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to know if the idea of the basic reproductive number could be of use in this model of yours.
The basic reproduction number.
Yeah. Like how useful is
the
it in this model? I didn't get where you explain what it meant. Like, how useful is it in this model? Okay. And I also thought it's normally given by beta divided by gamma, sometimes multiplied by the S compartment. I don't get this formula. Well, if you could shed more light on it.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think that this is a very nice question. So our gamma, as you mentioned, R naught is not constant for every model. Every model comes with its own, R naught. Okay. So just like if you listen to what Dr. Mo said, we sort of look at a whole compartment. So let's look at this model. So we look at the classes or the systems that are infectious. Okay, so over here, we consider only infectious class will be the P, because that is where a lot of things are taking place. Then out of that, we kind of get the F. The F is just the production of the infections in a disease sense. And the V is a transition of new infections. Now, the product, when you take the product of the F and the inverse of that, will then give you the R naught. So the R naught, as you mentioned, the R naught is not sort of constant for every model. Every model comes with its own R naught. So I think you were mentioned that the ones you haven't seen, see beta over gamma plus something, it's not constant for every model. And the meaning of R gamma in my case is that on the average, if for example, the implication of R gamma, or in my case, in my model, is that if somebody is sort of being initiated into the gang community, on the average, we are saying that how many other people can he or she influence to join gang? Do you say it? Just like if you want to explain it in the sense of diseases, you will say that R naught means that on the average, if somebody is infectious, how many other people can he or she infect? Do you get it? So that's the same way we look at it.
Oh, okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, no questions. I guess there's not a question maybe directly related to the parameters in there, but are you thinking of probably suggesting this to maybe the US government or maybe the area where you pick the data from, that okay, maybe this can help reduce gang crimes in that area? Have you thought about suggesting it to maybe the government or something?
Yeah, I think thank you so much for this question. I think this is something that my advisor has sort of taken steps to do. So it's something we want to sort of collaborate with the Arizona Police Department for them to look at into the work that we have done, so that it can help them to make an informed decision.
Mm-hmm. At least you want to see how practical it is in real life, right? So
that's true.
But thank you for the talk. That's very insightful. So
thank you.
We have some other talks by Mr. Olagbami and Mr. Diallo, but it looks like they are not in the meeting. So I'm the last person to present, so I'll just go ahead and do my presentation, and then if they're still not in the meeting, we'll have Dr. Moore give us some few tips about jobs and also some study tips, and then we'll end the session for today. Okay, so I'll go ahead and share my screen, and then I'll give my talk. Okay, so yeah, I believe you can all see my screen. So my name is Sylvia Mihe, and I'm a final year graduate student at the University of Alabama. And I happen to have the privilege of working under Professor Zhao at the university. I'm basically working in numerical analysis and mathematical biology, and my focus is on the Poisson-Boltzmann equation. So my talk will be about finding the electrostatic free energy for the Poisson-Boltzmann equation, and that is what my title really is: benchmarking electrostatic free energy for the nonlinear Poisson-Boltzmann model for the Kekulé sphere. So simply put, you are finding the energy for the nonlinear Poisson-Boltzmann equation. So I'll give a brief introduction, the methodology I used for the work, some numerical experiment, and I'll conclude from there. So what is the Poisson-Boltzmann equation? So it's the most widely used equation that describes or models the electrostatics of a solvated biomolecule. So here we have an image of a molecule that has been immersed in water. So what the Poisson-Boltzmann equation actually does is describing the interactions that go on between the charges on the molecule and then the ions in the water. So that's basically what it does. It's applied in a lot of areas of study like DNA recognition, drug design, and also in engineering, material science, to be specific. Now, the Poisson-Boltzmann equation that's given in equation 1 is usually solved over a 3D domain omega. So the image you see here is actually a 2D representation of the Poisson-Boltzmann equation. So once the molecule is immersed inside the water, it splits the domain into two subdomains. You have omega minus and omega plus, where omega plus becomes the molecular region and then omega plus becomes the solvent region. So we have equation 1. The first equation is the Poisson-Boltzmann equation, and it satisfies the other conditions you see. The Q is the charge, NC is the number of atoms for the molecule, and in some cases can have a one-atom molecule, and that's what basically I'll be talking about. And then kappa and then epsilon are piecewise constant that assume different values in the different subdomains. Now, the Poisson-Boltzmann equation has some difficulties when solving it. You have non-linearity due to the hyperbolic sign function you saw in the previous equation. You have some singularities due to the Dirac delta function, which is this function right here on the right-hand side of the equation. And you also have an unbounded domain and some other difficulties you face when solving the Poisson-Boltzmann equation. So there are several PBE solvers that have been developed to solve some of these numerical difficulties. They include Delphi, they include the regularized match interface and boundary Poisson-Boltzmann solver, and the APBS, and a few others. And the common benchmark text that is used for these PBE solvers is the Kekulé sphere. That is just a one-atom sphere in the water. So instead of a molecule, now you have a one atom in the water. Now, the Poisson-Boltzmann equation you saw in equation 1 can either be linearized or non-linear. We have analytical solutions for the linearized Poisson-Boltzmann equation, but there is no known analytical solution for the non-linear Poisson-Boltzmann equation. So my goal in this work was to develop an accurate method that would calculate the electrostatic free energy for the non-linear Poisson-Boltzmann equation for the Kekulé sphere, and then become a new benchmark test for Poisson-Boltzmann solver, that is the 3D Poisson-Boltzmann solvers. And in this work, I used the match interface and boundary method, which is a rigorous or robust finite difference method for determining fictitious points in a finite difference approximation. And also I use the inexact Newton's method, which is basically the Newton's method for solving nonlinear systems. So the equation we see in equation 2 now is still the Poisson-Boltzmann equation, but the Poisson-Boltzmann equation for a Keku sphere. So a Keku sphere is just a spherical cavity inside the water. Now I'm considering a spherical cavity with radius A and a charge Q at the center. So the image here you see is the Poisson-Boltzmann equation for the Keku sphere. So you have omega minus and then omega plus. The image here is for the Poisson-Boltzmann equation with an unbounded domain. The domain is not bounded. And like you saw in equation 1, equation 2 is still the Poisson-Boltzmann equation. It satisfies the other conditions you see. So for the last condition, as the radial distance gets very, very large, the potential function has to go to 0. The Poisson-Boltzmann equation is actually a partial differential equation, but in spherical coordinates, the Poisson-Boltzmann equation becomes an ordinary differential equation that is just solved in the radial direction. And if that is the case, it's given as equation 3. So in equation 3, we have the Poisson-Boltzmann equation for the Keku sphere in spherical coordinates. So it's just a 1D equation. So basically, this is what it looks like when you're considering a line. So you have 0, which is the center of the sphere. You have A. So 0 to A is the radius. That is the area of the sphere. And then you have, let's say, infinity here, right? Because it has an unbounded domain. Now, this region here is omega minus, which is the spherical region. This region here is omega plus. So you solve the potential in each region to get the electrostatic potential at the end. And like we saw, it still has to satisfy the other jump conditions in the last condition, which says that as you move away or as the radial distance gets very large, the potential goes to 0. So one of the numerical difficulties you face when solving the Poisson-Boltzmann equation is singularity due to the Dirac delta function, like I mentioned. So we adopted the two-component regularization method to solve that singularity problem. So this is the two-component regularization method. And with the two-component regularization method, we decompose the potential function, that is U, inside the cavity region, that is U minus, into two components, the reaction field component, a bounded reaction field component, and then a Coulomb's component. And the Coulomb's component is basically the Green's function. And this is given as the Green's function. So once you apply this two-component regularization to the equation in equation 3, we get what we call the regularized Poisson-Boltzmann equation, which is given in equation 4. So here, this is just the regularized Poisson-Boltzmann equation you saw previously, but this is in spherical coordinates with the two-component regularization method applied. So now I solved the very first equation to get the reaction field component just in the cavity region. And then I solved the second equation to get the potential function inside the solvent region. Now, the very first equation is a differential equation. It can be solved analytically. Now, when you solve that, you obtain equation 5. So equation 5 is the potential function inside the cavity region. So like I drew before, you have 0, you have A, you have infinity. So this is U minus, this is the potential function inside this region, omega minus. And it is given as the Green's function plus an unknown constant C. And we'll determine what an unknown constant is. Equation 6 is now the Poisson-Boltzmann equation you solve inside the solvent region. That is the region from A to infinity. So you are solving U plus in this region. Now, the equation you see in equation 6 is for the nonlinear Poisson-Boltzmann equation. So you have the hyperbolic sign term, then that introduces the nonlinear term. Now, using the analytical solution for the potential we obtained previously, that is U minus, you can rewrite the jump conditions you saw previously as equation 7. So you have U plus equal to U minus, and that is equal to that unknown constant C1 plus the Green's function. And then you have the derivative potential inside the solvent region, given as some constant C times the charge divided by epsilon plus, which is the dielectric constant inside the solvent, times A squared, which is the radius. Now, our goal is to solve equation 6 numerically. So now we have a boundary value problem, and then we admit these conditions at the boundaries. So I'll go back and draw it. So now I'm solving this equation more like A to infinity. I'm solving for U plus. So I have to admit some boundary conditions. So now at the boundary A, I admit the second condition in equation 8. And then I know that for the Poisson-Boltzmann equation, I satisfy the last equation. If my radial distance gets very, very large, the potential goes to 0. But then how do I solve it in an unbounded domain? I need a bounded domain in order to solve this equation. So therefore, I truncate the domain A to infinity to some A to B. So I choose B. B can be any large value, any small value for now. We'll later see whether it should be a big value or a small value. So I truncate that into the domain A to B, and therefore I solve equation 9, which becomes my new boundary value problem for the Poisson-Boltzmann equation. So this is what I'm solving now in equation 9. And then we solve this equation 9 using the inexact Newton's method and a high order finite difference approximation. And then we treat the boundary conditions at A and B using the match interface and boundary method. Because of time, I'll not really go into what the MIB method really is. Now, when we solve, I'll quickly go back to equation 9. When we solve equation 9, we can obtain the potential function at A, that is at the point A. Now, when we obtain the potential function at the point A, if we plug that value inside the very first equation you see in equation 7, we can obtain that unknown constant C1. So that is the goal now. When we solve this equation in equation 9, we can obtain U plus at A, plug that inside the jump condition and obtain that unknown constant C1. But the question is, what is the use of that unknown constant C1? Why do we even need it? And that brings us to the electrostatic free energy for the Poisson-Boltzmann equation. It's just the energy that is released when the interactions are going on. So the electrostatic free energy is given as equation 11, and it's just 1/2 times KB. KB is the Boltzmann constant, T is the temperature, times the charge, and then that unknown constant C1. So once you obtain U plus at A using a numerical method, we can plug that inside the jump condition to obtain C1, and then we determine the electrostatic free energy for the Poisson-Boltzmann equation for the Kekulé sphere. Now, since we have the Poisson-Boltzmann equation can either be linear or non-linear, we decided to test our method first for the linearized case because we have analytical solutions for the potential and the electrostatic free energy. So here we have the parameters we choose. So we chose a sphere with radius 2 angstrom. We have the charge, we have the dielectric constants, we have the ionic strength, what determines the ionic solution for the solvent. And then we have the value B. We chose B as 100. Now I'll explain why we chose that value for B. So here we are comparing the electrostatic free energy, the analytical potential with the numerical potential that we obtained from our method. And we did this for finite difference approximation of order 2, of order 4, 6, and then 8. And they're indicated here by MIB2, MIB4, MIB6, and MIB8. And you can see that as the mesh size gets very, very small, the error also gets very, very small. And as you increase the order of the finite difference approximation, the error gets smaller. So from this graph, you can see that MIB8, which is the finite difference approximation of order 8, gives us the least or the smallest error. And this actually indicates that our method works very well for the linearized case. So then why did we choose the value B equal to 100A? Now we have the analytical energy for the linearized case. And we know that as the radial distance gets very, very large, the potential has to go to 0. Now, if we choose B as 100 and we plug that inside the analytical potential, which is given, analytical energy, which is given in equation 14, you would obtain this value, which is about 10 to the power negative 13, which we can probably say is 0 or very close to 0. And since MIB8, which is the finite difference approximation of order 8, gives us the best energy error, we decided to find out what impact B, the value of B, has on our energy. So if we choose the value value B to be very small, do we get a better error or we get a worse error? So here for a fixed size of 641 angstrom, 6401 angstrom, we can see that for a smaller B, the error is very large. So here we are comparing our numerical energy at that B point with the analytical energy at that B point. And you can see that for a smaller B, the error is very small, but then we need a very large B in order to get a very small error. So that is why we chose B to be 100A. Now for the next one, we decided to compare our numerical energies with the analytical energy for different mesh sizes, but for a particular fixed domain or a fixed mesh size of 6401. Okay, now with this, we chose a reference energy from all our numerical energies we computed. And the difference between that reference energy and analytical energy is about 10 to the power negative 13. So which means the reference energy is very close to that analytical energy. And here we are comparing all these numerical energies at the different mesh sizes with the analytical energy. And you can see that as the mesh size gets very, very small, the error also gets very, very small. And here, even though we are using a finite difference approximation of order 8, it's not depicted here in the linear least square slope because we are dealing with the energy and not the potential. However, we still get a very good linear least square slope. So now with this approximation and with this analysis for the linearized case, we decided to focus on the non-linear case, which doesn't have an analytical solution. So here, we picked the reference energy for the non-linear case. Now the criteria for picking that reference energy was the same criteria we used for picking the reference energy for the linearized case. And here, we also wanted to find out the impact of B, the truncation, on the numerical energy. So here we're comparing all our numerical energies with the reference energy given here. And you can also see that as we choose a smaller B, the error gets very, very large. So we need a very large B in order to get a very small error. Now, what happens if we compare our numerical energies with the reference energies for different mesh sizes? And we can also see that as we do that, the error gets very, very small for smaller mesh sizes. And here, the linear least square slope is about 5.30, which is not 8, but it's very good. And this is because we are dealing with the energy and not the potential like we saw for the linearized case. Now we decided to compare our reference energies we obtained for the 1D Poisson-Boltzmann equation with a 3D Poisson-Boltzmann solver. So we picked the Keku sphere for the 1D Poisson-Boltzmann equation, and I'm comparing that with the Keku sphere for a 3D Poisson-Boltzmann solver. Now the model, even though the 1D Poisson-Boltzmann equation is geometrically limited to the 3D case, it has the same modeling principles. So the same modeling principles applies for the 3D case. So we decided to compare that with a 3D solver, and we chose the regularized match interface and boundary Poisson-Boltzmann solver. So this method uses a finite difference approximation, and it uses the boundary match interface and boundary method to treat the interface problem in the Poisson-Boltzmann equation. We use the inexactness method to solve the nonlinear system, and then the two-component regularization method to treat the singularities for the Poisson-Boltzmann equation. So we started with the linearized case. So here we chose the numerical energies from the 3D Poisson-Boltzmann solver and then compared that with our reference energy for the linearized case. And the reference energy was very close to the analytical energy for the linearized, and that was about 10 to the power negative 13. And here you can see that as the mesh size gets very, very small, the error also gets smaller, which is about a second order for this. And the other column you see on the right, that is the third column, here we are picking our MIBA, that is the finite difference approximation numerical energies of order 8. We are comparing that with the reference energy. You can also see that it reduces. So our method works very well for the linearized case and the nonlinear. And here we can see that the 3D numerical energies converges to our 1D reference energy. Now I went ahead to compare our results with the nonlinear numerical energies obtained from the 3D Poisson-Boltzmann solver. So here we are comparing the numerical energies with our 1D reference energy, which we obtained for the Keku sphere for the Poisson-Boltzmann solver. Now, when we did this comparison, we realized that the numerical energies for the 3D Poisson-Boltzmann solver did not converge to our 1D reference energy. And this could be due to the case of the boundary condition that is used for the 3D Poisson-Boltzmann solver. Now, the nonlinear Poisson-Boltzmann equation has no analytical energy. So the boundary condition we used for the 3D Poisson-Boltzmann solver for the nonlinear case was the analytical solution for the linearized case, which is not the exact boundary condition. And with that, we noticed that the results were not converging. So we said that we are going to investigate more about the boundary conditions for the nonlinear Poisson-Boltzmann equation. And that is what I'm currently working on. So just to conclude on my talk, I talked about a highly accurate method we developed for solving the nonlinear Poisson-Boltzmann equation for the Keku sphere in 1D. And we compared our results with a 3D reference, 3D numerical results, and we realized that it works very well for the linearized case where the numerical energies for the 3D linearized case converges to our 1D energy. However, it did not work or did not converge for our nonlinear case, and this was due to the boundary condition that was used. So that is what I'm currently working on, that is developing a boundary condition for the nonlinear Poisson-Boltzmann equation. But this boundary condition should be valid for both the linearized and then the nonlinear case. So these were the references I used, and these references talk about the match interface and boundary method, and also the two-component regularization method for solving the singularity problem in the Poisson-Boltzmann equation. So thank you, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you very much. My question is, you are doing, did you do for the sphere or you did for a circle?
Okay, so the sphere is actually a circle.
Okay, so this is the 2D case, huh?
This is the 1D case. So we got it for the 1D case.
Okay, this one.
Yes, that's for the
Okay, so yeah, so of course, so that's you are not doing now for the sphere. Of course, this is also a sphere, but it's fine. They're more like a planar geometry.
Exactly.
But my question is finite difference and curved geometries. How effective is it? You are doing a curved geometry and you are using finite difference. How are you able to? Because as you can see, the more you approximate, the more you use smaller mesh size, the better the results. Right? Because it's because of the sphere, because it's not a straight boundary.
Right.
So one of the remedies is either to use a non-standard finite difference scheme or to use finite elements.
Okay.
So have you thought of something like that?
I haven't tried the finite elements method yet, but just to maybe explain a little bit of the question you asked. So yeah, we know this is the spherical case. It's a circle, right? But then we converted it to spherical coordinate. So it was like we are solving a straight line. So that was why
Okay, yeah.
But I consider the finite elements method. I've heard a lot about it, so I should probably.
Okay. So you did a spherical coordinate and made it into like a straight line. I see.
Exactly.
All right, that is good. So how did you inculcate your boundary condition? Because your boundary here looks like a jump in the solution, and then a jump in the derivative. How did you inculcate this as well, or you didn't add the boundary conditions?
I did. So there is no boundary condition for the nonlinear, and we know that the Poisson-Boltzmann equation must satisfy this condition.
Yeah.
So because there is no boundary condition, we decided to choose the boundary at this to be exactly 0, so that we can just satisfy that condition that if it approaches it gets to 0, even though it's not 0. So that was the boundary condition we chose for the right hand side.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. So nice work.
Thank you.
Hi, Sylvia. Thanks so much for the wonderful presentation.
I'll be happy to take any question if you have any.
So is this published?
Yes, it is published, and we actually have this as a software package available to the bio community to calculate the energy if they want.
Okay. So you also have the MATLAB, or what did you use?
Okay, so I used Fortran and MATLAB for this work. It was mostly Fortran, but the package that is available right now is in MATLAB.
Oh, okay.
So if no other questions, that brings me to the end of my talk. And I guess the other presenters are not here. So we'll quickly move on to the last thing we have on the last agenda for the program. And that is also another talk by Dr. Stephen Moore about opportunities for students in the STEM field. So Dr. Moore, I'll hand that over to you and you can start whenever you're ready.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I will go ahead. So for most of us, so for me, for instance, maybe I'll just use my personal journey. I did a bachelor in K University. Then I went to Germany to do a master's then to Austria to do a PhD. I did then move from the academic side and then went to some industrial firms. I started a consultancy company. Then went to work with a bigger organization. Then decided to come back home to Ghana. So in that sense, it really depends on your skills in terms of job opportunities, especially if you want to move out of from the university to academic to the industry. It really depends on skills. By that I mean computational skills, because most of the industrial work that they will probably be thinking of hiring a mathematics person or a physics person or an engineering person for will really be computational aspects. I mean, they will expect that you can take some problem and solve it using some computers, show some simulation results, show them, and be able to tell them something that they probably are seeing, but they do not know. So that is one of the big things. So for most people, I always try to encourage them is in all you're getting, get computational skills. It means that whatever you are doing, it doesn't matter. Maybe you are reading pure maths, functional analysis only, doing analytical PDEs or geometry or algebra, and you think that, okay, there's no need for computers. But I can say that you are always in a very good way or in a good direction when you can also write some Python codes or some MATLAB codes. It doesn't really change anything. And so in all you're getting, get computing skills. And this is very critical, especially for modern days. So you could hear Thomas, he just graduated from his PhD and has been employed in a financial company and a financial institution because he can write some programs, he can do some programming, and it's always good in that sense. If you want to even be in academia, you are always also a step ahead when you can do the programming, because you meet a lot of people who are afraid to write codes. So if you can write codes, you are the nearest or closest person they want to collaborate with easily. So those are some of the things that one must consider. Of course, sometimes I fear one thing that people will just take existing codes and then they'll just edit it briefly and then get their result that they want. It's fine, but in the end, you need to understand what you are doing yourself. You need to be able to understand what you are doing, improve what you are doing, and every time consistently seek to build on your own knowledge and your own capacity. I mean, as I'm here, I still do read and try to, as much as possible, see what is the latest research areas of interest that I can get into, or what are the latest topics, hot topics that I can get involved with, or just to keep reading and seeing something I can combine with what I'm doing. And so it's really important. Of course, I do hear everybody talking of data science, data science. So if you're not careful as well, you may also fall into the trap of, oh, let me also go and do data science, right? But there are many career paths. There are many, many opportunities. It's not just data scientists that are only important. There are research mathematics people as well who are doing simulation of PDE models. So for instance, when I finished my PhD, even before I finished my PhD, the last 1 year, I was consulting for an optimization company. That is what they were called. They were called process optimization. And all they did was try to optimize machines for companies. So they come to the company, they see your factory setup, you try to run some oil drills or whatever. They see the setup, they look at it, they design the setup again on the computer, then they run the model that you are using to see if they can get the exact, if it is oil, they can predict the same amount of oil you are producing. Then they try to then go back and try to optimize the system. Which part of the machine or of the network is redundant, or we can take it off, or which part of the machine can we improve so that we can get better production. This was what I did during my last year in PhD for a company. And then after that, I did another work, did consult for another company, which was also into oil and gas production. And in that sense, what they were doing was they had a lot of machines that were drilling oil and gas. And so what they did basically was they had geologists, and then whenever they drill the oil, the geologists can tell from some graphs, some data they are getting, if there's more oil or more gas. So basically, the company, they contacted me and they said, all we want to do is we want a way to kind of like a signal that there's more oil or there's more gas. Then based on those signals, we shut down some valves to produce more oil or more gas. So I remember when I went there, I saw the models we're using. I just said, oh, these are some simple PDE models you guys are using. I didn't tell them. So I just took it, went back, did a simulation of the models they were using. Then now try to use that to derive, to get some fake data or like data from the models, and then compare it to the data that they were getting in their company, which then became very clear because once I get the data and it's aligning to the data they are getting, the company is also producing, I could plot the same plots even without using the data they were collecting from the field. And this, once they saw that, they realized that I could get them more insights into how to stop the valves. And this was something that I did for them. And I'm saying this because for you to see that there are many opportunities, and it doesn't matter, you could have done ODEs and PDEs, but in the real world, when you go there, people expect that you're able to take the mathematical models or whatever you know, and then throw it into problems that they are facing and then show them how you can compare and how you can solve the problems they are doing. And so these are really, really important, some of the important things that I feel one must not overlook. The importance of computer training, learning basic things, how to write programs on your own, understanding it carefully, and then also conferences and workshops. As a research student, you must connect to other people, try to network, because once you finish your university or PhD, the next thing is, do you want to do a postdoc or you want to go to some company? If nobody knows you and your supervisor also does not recommend you to anybody, then you are in a hole, you are on your own, and then you are stuck. So conferences and workshops are places you can make your presentations and get to listen to others, get to learn from others, get to make somebody hear your name. You know, make somebody hear your name, say, oh yeah, I remember this guy who gave this talk on this thing. And it's always easier because then whenever they need something, they can easily call you to collaborate with them. Or whenever you need a job and you send it out, even if they don't have an opportunity, they'll try to put you in a circle that they can also benefit from your skills as well and to benefit from your research as well. So those are some of the things that I think the opportunities are there. I try also to tell people, don't think too local as much as possible, think global. It means that although I'm in Ghana, I want to wake up tomorrow morning and say, I've seen a job opportunity in Arizona, I want to apply. And then I'll feel confident enough to apply because I think that I'm competitive enough to apply for them. And so it means that whatever you are doing, don't do it because I just want to do it and get over with. But you are doing it because you want to do it and do the best of your ability and the best that contributes to the global knowledge as well. So those are the few things that I may just chip in. If I forgot something or if you have some questions as well, we can talk and you can all share your experiences as well.
Okay, so does anyone have any question for Dr. Moore regarding this or any contribution that might be helpful to the rest of us? Because I guess most of us here are graduate students, so it's very helpful to us to get some contributions from some of you.
Yeah, yes, I have questions. So this borders more on professional environment. Like, what has it been for you since you returned to Ghana? Like, what has the experience been?
Yeah, I mean, being in Ghana is a big jump, honestly. The environment that I grew up with doing my research is never the same in Ghana. In Ghana, research is not really kind of a priority. It's more on promotions that are priorities here. So you may easily fall into this certain thing of you are not too eager to publish a lot of results because you feel it doesn't really add anything else. You know, you just wait for the next promotion to publish your papers and submit them, which is a bit of a drawback for me, honestly, because I feel that okay, I can publish as many as I want, but then on one hand, you are feeling Charlie, the salary is not that strong. Let me use some of my time to go and look for some money in Senegal or Cameroon or Rwanda or some other thing. Spend a lot of time writing proposals and so many things like that. Or trying to get some consultancy jobs around Ghana. I mean, it's like that. It's not the same as when I was, for instance, living abroad. I didn't need to think about anything else apart from research because I knew at the end of the month my salary was good enough. And if I got more, it would be because I did something extra more that I really felt I deserved to do. So those are the kind of the huge differences. And in Ghana, you know, we never advertise for jobs. For instance, in the university, there's nothing like an advertisement for a job offer. They will just say, oh, everybody can apply anytime you want. So it means if you want to come to the University of Cape Coast, when you get to Cape Coast University, you go to the Human Resource Office and go and pick an application form and submit it. You fill it out, you submit it, and then you just have to wait for them to call you or for the department you have applied to invite you for an interview. Or you call the HOD of that department and tell them that, hey, I applied for a position there and my application is at the human resource. So the HOD will then follow up on it. So that is how the system here works. So it's not the same, I would say. It's really not the same. And there are sometimes I tell myself, let me run away again, or I go somewhere and people try to give you job opportunities that, hey, come, we have a research scientist position here, you can come and do it. And you have to think again, what did you really want to do? And for me, coming back, my main aim was to at least share my knowledge with some Ghanaians. Of course, I don't know if I'll stay here forever, but at least the time that I'm here, my idea was share my knowledge with some Ghanaians, share my skill and expertise with some Ghanaians, and make sure that there are quite a certain amount of Ghanaians in the area that I have trained in. So if it is ODEs, disease modeling, I take some students, I teach them, I try to explain to them, I guide them through thesis work, I share my codes with them, and then help them that they can also facilitate their research as well, and try to guide them so that they can do the best of what they want to do, and not just that they just want to finish and go away, but really passing the knowledge on so that someone will sit down someday and say, oh, I really, really want to do further work in this area because I understand it, or I loved it, I love what I did in the end. So it's not easy because most of the research here, research students are self-funded. They are teachers, they are lecturers, part-time, so it's really, really a battle because the person, he's looking for cash. Some of them, they come to do the masters because they need to upgrade, they want to upgrade their salaries. So he's not coming to do research. You don't have to bother them too much with unnecessary integrations and so many things. Just want to pass by. So there is also risks because if you just let a person pass by, the next time you realize he's back looking for PhD, looking to do PhD with you. And then you find that no, you cannot do, I don't want to help you with a PhD, and it becomes that kind of conflict. So it's not that easy being back home, but for me, the only thing that I love that is why I still stay around is sharing my knowledge with people, and trying to build them and push them in areas that I feel they can easily get better opportunities for their lives. And that is for me what I really love to do. And that is why I try to connect with the students who leave, those doing their graduate students, those who are doing their PhD, try to connect with them, and to build a community of Ghanaians or researchers with similar experiences, and that we can be able to then improve on the research environment in general as we want to do it or as we expect it to be. That is for me the main thing, but it's never the same. It's never the same. If you come from US to Ghana and you realize that your salary is not going to be like some graduate student research teaching assistant salary, you realize it's not the same. So you can imagine that someone like a lecturer or a senior lecturer will be getting about somewhere about maybe 800. I don't know the exchange rate now, Carl. Let me check. So maybe 100 USD towards Ghana cedis. So 100 USD is maybe now 1,000, so 1159. So you can imagine that maybe 700, 750 is the salary of someone like a senior lecturer. You get it? So it's really not enough. So I wouldn't begrudge it when I see other colleagues trying to go here to teach, go there to teach, trying to teach us in many places, just to get extra money for themselves, because that is all that they can also do to survive the system as well. So even if you want to come, my advice has always been, if you want to come, make sure you are well prepared. At least you have certain things in place that you can tell yourself that, look, okay, at least for 2-3 years, I'm a bit balanced. If after that I'm not feeling good, I go back to where I came from. I think that's something that you should keep in your mind as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Okay, if no other questions, thank you very much, Dr. Mo.
Okay, so maybe the other thing is that, PhD is really, you build your graduate studies is really building your research capacity. And that also means that seminars, something that I don't see, I don't experience here, which I really loved a lot, was seminars. Seminars was the place where I could, that got me to understand different areas of mathematics from what I was doing for my PhD. And that got me to kind of connect other types of mathematics to other types of mathematics in a sense. So that once you finish your PhD and you want to do some postdoc and you don't get exactly a one-to-one match of your research area from your PhD, it shouldn't scare you. You shouldn't say, "Oh, this one I'm not sure I can do it because I never saw it anyway." Because the idea is you have a PhD, you should be able to take different types of mathematics as well and consume and then use it to within a year produce some new results. And this is something that I don't get to a bit participate here because we don't do seminars a lot. But we don't even do seminars. The seminars we do are usually for graduate students to present their thesis work. So it's one of the reasons I like this kind of workshops, online workshops, organizing Ghana numerical analysis days, and this kind of works because it gets me to understand what is the current state, or what is the current movement in the mathematical sphere. And that is what I also will encourage. As much as possible, try to participate in seminars to listen to new areas of mathematics. You are doing ODE, but maybe some PD seminars is coming up. You try to listen and see how they do it. Because most of the mathematics, they are techniques, you know. So it's like you have an ODE, there's a technique for solving it. You have a PD, there's a technique for solving it. If it doesn't work directly, try to improve the technique or use another thing to come and do it. So if you understand the very basics, you can easily adjust to different areas of mathematics and build your career on the go. Because when I was doing for my graduate studies and PhD, everything I did was PDEs, finite elements. That's it, nothing else. But I finished my PhD, came back home, and everything I was seeing was ODEs. So I have to also start doing ODEs. But the idea for me has been not just do ODEs, but even the same thing that I see people doing all the time, take the ODE, do it, understand the technique, then migrate it to different types of differential equations. So you do the ordinary differential, now we do the fractional one, we do the stochastic one, then finally we do the partial differential one. So that students who are doing research and listening to other students present their work will begin to see the differences in the techniques required to solve the same problem, but in a different dimension, in a different way. And that is exactly how, for me, I do the research as well.
Yeah, Dr. Mo, so I think from getting what you are saying, it means we're trying to know that what you are doing, you try and know how it's connected to other fields or other related fields in your area. And now you can also apply your knowledge in what you are doing to other stuff. So I don't know.
Exactly.
And that can be attained more through attending conferences, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
By going for workshops, you'll be able to see what the current state of a lot of problems are, and it will get you thinking of how you can connect those ones to what you are doing. Sometimes even at conferences, you get fresh ideas. So you never knew that, oh, we could apply this thing to something like that. And then you can say, okay, let me just change, maybe it's data. Say, okay, let me just change the data to something else and then apply a similar thing. Maybe it's data from US. Maybe I take the same data from Ghana or from an African country and see if the same thing will work. And it also helps you accelerate your research.
That makes sense.
And if you finish your PhD and you have some 1 or 2, 3 papers, you have a better chance in many aspects. You have a very good chance. Either through, I mean, I know in the US, research articles count if you want to, for instance, apply for permanent residency or want to apply for some stay or something like that. All these things count. So I usually encourage people, don't look sharp, publish 1 or 2 papers when you are doing the PhD. So that in the end, when you finish this, you don't have to struggle too much even to adapt and to stay in the country if you want to stay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
So, Doc, I think one thing that I also saw about attending conferences or private seminars is that it has, for me, it has really helped me, especially with my first paper that I published on COVID. In one of the conferences, I gave a talk, and afterwards, one person from the back pointed out that there's a mistake in the model. I couldn't say it. Then he pointed out that if you do it this way, at that time we were getting a result that looks interesting, but then what the person did gave us a more insight into what needed to be done. And when we did it, we saw that indeed what the guy said was the best, and that led to the publication of that result. So I would say that conferences and then seminars are so important. That's from it has been so beneficial to me. Thank you for touching on that.
Yeah, so let me just say something about conferences. So this numerical fair is organized by Dr. Moore, but it's actually organized by the Ghana Numerical Analysis. So this also an online conference where with Dr. Moore as the leader, he invites professors from all over the world in different areas of mathematics to come and give a talk. So there is a website for that. You can check that out. And it's not just the Ghanaians who give a talk, professors from different areas. I just noticed, I was just going through one of the professors from, I think, University of Texas, El Paso, and I realized she even came to give a talk. She was a plenary speaker. So in addition to going for conferences wherever you are, you can also attend the Ghana numerical conferences, and then you get to meet all these world-renowned mathematicians, and then ask questions, and who knows, you'll be able to connect with them and maybe publish some papers or do some work in the future.
Yeah, it's also true. I think I actually was surprised because I got people sending me messages that their supervisors had told them they should come and participate in Ghana numerical analysis and stuff. And a lot of some people actually sent me a lot of messages as well. And yeah, I've had people from some professors from Oxford even writing that they want to give talks at the Ghana numerical analysis. And really some of the renowned people who have invented the methods where I've gotten in touch with Stoyer and Boyschler. They invented a lot of the ODE numerical techniques, writing to me that, hey, you'll be happy to present there. And I realized that people want to help. People want to share their knowledge to new people. And they'll be happy easily if you're also receptive. They'll be happy to share their skill and to be able to know that, oh, I have some students in Africa or something like that. They feel happy that they've been able to share their knowledge across continents, not just limited to where they are. I remember one of the Siam, either their current president or the North American president, he actually sent me a message, Daniel Child. He sent me a message and said, hey, I want to present at Ghana Numerical Analysis. Am I invited? I said, why not? You should come and make the presentation. And immediately he agreed that he will come. He just came to present. Since then, every now and then he sends me a message, how is Ghana numerical analysis going, and stuff like that. So yeah, for me, these are things that when I do them because I feel we are part of a global community. Yeah, we belong to a global community of mathematicians, not just Ghanaian mathematicians, but global community where you should be able to see what is the current state and how the current level of mathematics is, what is the current research level, and then you map up whether you are working hard or you are still in your 1920s, you know. So yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
Yeah, so thank you. I actually heard about the Ghana numerical analysis from I think an email group. They're international. So that's when my advisors asked me to subscribe, and I first heard of it and I said, like, I've seen Ghana numerical analysis. It has something to do with Ghana. That's where I come from. So I connected them, then I realized, okay, so you have all these people from all over the world coming to give talks, and two of them were actually I was actually impressed with that. So I've just shared the email for the Ghana numerical analysis in the chat. If you'd like to give a presentation in that conference, you can just send an email. More will reach out to you.
So and also, I think the link to the website.
The link to the website, yes,
that would be nice as well.
I will share that. So I'll share that with all the participants.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this year we were able to get some journals who are willing to do 2 proceedings for not last year and this year. Yeah, 2 proceedings for some of the workshops we did. It was last year, and so yeah, I was very happy when they readily agreed that, oh, I think for the Ghana Numerical Analysis Day, they are willing to have a proceedings. Anyone who presents there can submit and publish for free. I said, why not? So thankfully, we got some 4 papers published there in that proceedings by MDPI. And through that, I've also gotten in contact with some other guys who participated, and then now are also doing some special proceedings with Springer. And they sent me a message, hey, we are also doing a special proceedings with Springer. Do you want to also submit your article to it? Or so it's a network you create, and then you also benefit from what others are doing and stuff like that.
Right. So thank you very much, Dr. Mo, for the advice and for the insight. And so this actually brings us to the end of the fair. I want to say thank you to all the participants. Thank you for all those who give a talk. And thank you for making the time to attend. We hope that this would go on more in the future. We're hoping to have more of this in the future and hopefully invite some of these world-renowned mathematicians to come and give plenary talks and hopefully connect or network with them for our career and future goals. So thank you all for attending. Thank you, Dr. Mo, for being the brain behind this and organizing this for us. We are really grateful. And we'll send out an email to all the participants, all those who took part with the recording, with emails for Dr. Toku and Dr. Thomas, just in case you want to connect with them, send them an email, find out or ask some questions you were able to ask during the conference, and also send the email of all those who give a talk, so that in case you want to collaborate with them, you learn something, you want to collaborate with them and publish a paper or do some work, you can also connect with them. And if you have any other questions, you can also send an email to me or to Ghana Numerical Analysis, and we'll respond to that mail. So thank you all once again, and have a good day.
All right, thank you too. So Sophia, the video, I don't know what we'll do. Maybe once we are done, you can put it in the